Good evening, everyone, and welcome to This Week from Rockdale. And I'm your host, as usual, Larry Cox. Tonight, we have a very special guest that we're going to be bringing on here in a minute. We're going to be bringing on Noelle Cahan. She is running for a new House seat that was just created in Henry County, and it's Hill House District 117. Let's go ahead and say some hi to some people in the chat first. George Kelichek, the taxpayer. Nice to have you on the show tonight. CJ Lester, Dan Burks, Megan Walker, William Campbell, and Mary Bosworth. We're going to go ahead. Thank you guys for coming in. Anybody else that wants to come on in the chat. I'll recognize you a little later. But at this moment, I'm not going to hesitate, and I'm going to bring our guest into the show. Hello, Noelle. How are you doing this evening?
I'm so good. So happy to be with you tonight.
It is great to have you here, and it's great to have you on the show and be able to introduce you to the people here on This Week from Rockdale. First thing we're going to let you do, Noelle, is we're going to let you introduce yourself to the people out here and tell them a little bit about Noelle Cahan and who she is.
Sure. My name is Noelle Cahan. It's spelled with a lot of vowels. So what I like to tell people is that it sounds like I can do it, not I can't. You don't have to pronounce every vowel. That's an Armenian last name from Armenia. Armenia is known as the first Christian nation country in 301 AD. So great country, great people. There's a funny book about them called The Happiest People on Earth. I highly recommend it. It's a really quick read. We live in Locust Grove, married 25 years to Michael. And we have two children, 21. Our son's at UGA. He's a broadcast journalism major. And our daughter, Kara, is in Milledgeville. So she wants to go into criminal justice for her degree. And they're nice and close. And I want to thank the Hope Scholarship and the Zell Miller Scholarship. I never got to meet Zell Miller, but so thankful for what education does. How it can change the life of the financial future of kids to be able to get scholarships and be able to stay in state, with our parents, with the parents, because we love to be close to our kids. I'm a paralegal for a civil rights law firm in Johns Creek, Georgia. Thankfully, I don't have to travel into the office too often. My ministry is Protect Student Health Georgia, where I travel the state advocating for parents and stakeholders on how to best protect their kids and other children in their school system, protect the health and innocence of their children. I do lots of other things, go up to the Capitol and legislate for child protecting bills, and went up there for some testimony for election integrity bills, and volunteer at my local pregnancy centers, two of them actually, one in Monroe a few years ago in Henry County. A healthy relationship teacher. I'm a volunteer teacher, which is always fun. I just love this country and looking to serve. Never served before, never been in political office, never ran before. So I'm really excited about this opportunity.
Well, Noelle, since you've mentioned this just now, that you've never ran before and you've got a desire to serve, let's go ahead and ask this first question. Why are you running for office? Before you answer that, Phil says, is the YouTube feed working tonight? Phil, it should be working tonight. Let me look and see. We do have a viewer on YouTube, so the YouTube feed is working tonight, Bill. While we're going, guys, let's go ahead and, if you could, share the show so we can build a nice audience for Noelle, because we want to share this out there and get Noelle's candidacy out there, because Noelle does border right against Rockdale County. So a lot of the things that Noelle's going to do, her district touches our county. So Noelle is going to be a friendly neighbor, guys. And Rockdale is going to need all the friendly neighbors we can, because we will have no Republican representation after redistricting takes full force in 2023. So you guys, Noelle's going to be one of our friends in the legislature, and we really need those friends. So Noelle, tell us, why have you decided to put yourself out there, and what makes you want to run for office?
Sure. Well, I've been in Locust Grove. We built our house here, about 20 acres. and we've been represented by a Democrat in the House for quite a while. And when I saw the new maps come out, I pay attention to politics because I'm also Henry County First Vice Chair. And I just love the process of politics. I love representative, government. I wasn't always, active, but thankfully I've definitely plugged in. Henry County GOP, they're just wonderful people, so helpful, so giving. So when I saw the new maps come out, I said, wow, this is my backyard. This district I'm literally in the middle of it. And if I had to pick 10 precincts that I would like to serve in, these are, my friends and my family. My kids went to school here. So I just thought that I needed to run. If something has to get done, sometimes I feel like I'm the one that has to step up to do it. But I'm a constitutional conservative, and I trust myself to make good decisions for the constituents, and I just want to serve in the best way that I can.
No, well, I mean, it's when someone decides to run for office and they put their platform out there and they decide what's going on. So, could you answer this? What do you think, or what do you think? But what are your three top issues that are in your platform that you will be running on as a candidate in the 117th?
Sure. Well, I invite people to go to my website at Noelle, that's NOELLE, NoelleforGeorgia.com, and you can see my platform there. So my platform is three parts. So what I'm saying is we must stand now. We're going to lose our republic. People say that every 4 years or so, but now more than ever, if we don't stand now for our Constitution, for our rights, then we're surely going to lose them. And we know there's a red wave coming. That's what everybody's saying. But I think in Georgia, it can be the biggest. So my platform is election integrity, educational integrity, and constitutional integrity. Constitutional is free speech, our right to bear arms, secure borders, our economic freedom, medical freedom. We're going to lose them if we don't stand now. I was just looking at the news and seeing the caravan in Canada. That's amazing to be able to do that in Canada in that cold weather. They're standing all across the country. They're standing. We saw what happened in Virginia. Those moms and dads are standing, and they're getting threatened with lawsuits. And I love when you advocate for open records requests. I held the national record at one point for open records request invoice, but we're standing all over the country, and I'm happy to train stakeholders around the state on how they can stand also.
Well, I attended a meeting, and you were at the meeting a few weeks ago when we had a great candidate running for state school superintendent, John Barge. And one of the things that he made aware were that, and I was aware with the Lowndes County and Virginia stuff of the pornography in the school there. I wasn't aware that it was so rampant in Georgia. Could you talk a little bit about what's going on with the pornography in our libraries and in our local schools? And that's what I don't think our folks don't realize it's even at the grade school level. So right. Could you talk a little bit about what kind of literature we actually have our children being exposed to, and then what groups like yours are doing to stop it, and what you would do as a legislator? Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd like to have a warning if you have young children listening. Sometimes I can spell the words, but kids, they can spell, they know what I'm talking about. But if there's any, young people in the viewing audience, they probably won't want to listen to this part. But it's different in Virginia than Georgia. So Georgia is one of 4 states that has something called an obscenity exemption. So it's illegal, Larry, for you and I to expose children to obscene materials. That would be sexual conduct, sexual images, sadomasochism. The law is very clear on what obscene and harmful to minors is, thankfully, because it's in our statutes, because the the prosecutors needed a tool to be able to prosecute these crimes. So it has to be defined. The problem is Georgia has a way for children to get this material legally, And there are two loopholes. One is school libraries, and the other is public libraries. One of 4 states that have this: Washington, Louisiana, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. So that's how it's getting in. Some school districts are better than others, thankfully. There's one county, I talked to the superintendent in Glasscock County, and he let me research it. And I couldn't find anything. And we like to hold school districts up that are doing a great job. Now, people that need help, we're absolutely ready to help them. We had a great seminar. Jody Heiss put on a great seminar on this issue alone in the 10th district. And he invited school superintendents, librarians. It was very eye-opening for everyone. I gave my presentation, and Dr. John Barge was there, former state school superintendent, to speak on ways that we can protect our kids. So just an example, we've attempted to pass legislation this is our 3rd year trying to pass this legislation to remove the loophole. And most of it is so vile, I can't even sometimes read most of it, but I think being a healthy relationships teacher in the schools has given me some background here. So this is a book called 21 Proms, and this is just one sentence. They're screwing all over the place with each other, in the gym, Burger King, his grandmother's house. They go to the prom and screw there too. And this book is in a Rockdale middle school. And this is not acceptable to me. And I will do everything I can to make sure that the obscenity loophole is removed. Or right now we have SB 226, which is attempting to make it so that there is an appeals process where the final arbiter of the material is the locally elected school board, not a principal that we didn't elect.
Noelle, Dr. Barge actually put some very graphic things up on the screen the other day that were in some of these books. You were light with what you said. Dr. Barge actually, it actually, what he put up on the screen actually describes specifically sexual acts. And those books are in our local schools, correct?
Yes. Here's this one's called Monday Isn't Coming. It describes oral sex for doing someone's homework. And I thought surely this one wouldn't be in Rockdale County. It's in a middle school. Sims Elementary School. In an elementary school. And there was a whole article on the Daily Wire when the Virginia parents actually took posters and put the actual words. Where are you? Put the actual words took them to the school board meeting on poster board.
And you guys, that book actually describes how to have oral sex and actually that names body parts and everything, correct?
Yeah, DICK.
Yeah.
Lovely. And you're paying for it, Larry.
Yeah, we are paying for it. And this is the thing about it is we knew these things, and I was hoping that you would do this because I did sort of tell you, I'd like to talk about this tonight. And I'm glad that you went and looked for books that were specifically in Rockdale County schools. And Sims is an elementary school. It's not a middle school. Sims Elementary. So we're talking 1 through 5.
Yes. Correct? Have access to that.
Have access to literature that describes how to perform oral sex for homework exchange program.
Yes. Yep, that's right. And
this is my thing is, why would that type of literature even be considered to be in a grade school? I mean, what's the excuse? What excuse do we get? That was what I want to know. What defense do we get from those who want to keep this kind of literature in our schools to influence our young?
So what they'll say is freedom to read. That's what I hear a lot. American Library Association says, these children should be free to read anything. So much so that they will keep what the book is reading private. If the teacher, the librarian says, Johnny's book is late to the teacher says, what's the name of the book? What's the title of the book? They won't tell you because they want to keep it secret. So we need to, I would tell Rockdale citizens to get the media policy. It should be available online very easily. If it's not, call somebody and ask. I could probably find it pretty easy if I don't have it already. Check your media policy. What are the parameters for purchasing the books? Does it say age appropriate? Does it follow, for instance, the CIPA, the Child's Internet Protection Act, which says that obscene materials cannot be available online? Well, shouldn't that also be true for library books? Not only just library books, so we have physical library books, and then we have third-party databases, which I find even more egregious. These are the books I talked about at the Capitol, and were brought up just last week with SB 226 because they're hearing that again. Swingers, a book about swingers. It's opposite of everything I teach for my healthy relationships class. There are multiple partners, obviously. No one is wearing any type of protection, nor are they being respectful of each other. Porn chic, exploring the contours of raunch eroticism. These are available as ebooks, and they go around the filters by EBSCO on purpose. Secrets of porn star sex, available to our children.
Dan asked a good question here. I mean, are these books allowed to be taken home, or are they just allowed to be read in the library?
Oh, they can be taken home. A lot of these books, when I research, they're not returned. They are missing. Now, when it's
so then they have to replace them.
Yes. So when an ebook, obviously ebook goes right to the Chromebook, goes right to their cell phone. EBSCO, you get it through Galileo. The National Center on Sexual Exploitation, NCOSE, who supports 226, has said that has given EBSCO a dirty dozen listing every year for at least the past 3 years. And I testified on this at the Capitol, and we're still trying to get 226 passed.
So I've got a couple questions about this that I think the audience is going to really, we want to know, right? So they say it's your right to read. So they're actually saying that parents don't have a right to actually limit or decide what their children are able to check out of the library. Is that the stance of these groups and of the principals and librarians and such?
Right. So certain districts have different policies. Greene County, for example, also in the 10th district, they have quite a loose policy written. It looks like to me, it's written by the American Library Association. So they say that children should be able to read whatever they want. And if you say otherwise, Larry, guess what you're called?
I'm called
Buck burner, censor. I'm like, fine. Somebody said to me at the Capitol a couple weeks ago, you want to censor children's reading materials? Yeah, it protects children.
and this is what we come to. So we're actually, what we see in this is the school system through librarians, administrators, school superintendents, and even in some cases elected board members, taking away parents' rights. So that comes to my next question. What are we doing about parents in Georgia having rights to protect their children against pornography in the educational system? So could you tell us what you guys are doing and what we have on the horizon in Georgia?
Yes. So I'm super excited about a parental bill of rights that's coming out. This bill even has a website already. The website's live. It's called Transparency. So TRANS parent, PARENTCY, transparency.com, which is great. You guys are going to love this website. It models Florida's Bill of Rights. If you don't know about it, it's excellent. Basically, parents have the right to see curricula, be able to actually review it online even, because right now it's in Georgia law, it says that you can go review material in person, but when you go into the school between the hours of 9 and 4, 10 and 4, something like that on a work day, what parents got the ability to do that? I definitely didn't. So it's saying that the right to the upbringing and the care and the health care of a child is on the parent solely, not the school. It gives opt-out options. I prefer opt-in, but I will take opt-out. It's going to be pretty exciting. There's going to be a couple of versions of Parents' Bill of Rights from what I hear, but only one has a website, and I highly recommend you go see that. If anybody wants to come testify at the Capitol, if there's any parents out there, grandparents, guardians, or just taxpayers that want to come testify, please contact me. I would love to get you on the schedule. If you can't come in person, you can call your legislator, ask them to support it. You can send an email to your legislator or someone on the committee. But there's lots of ways for us as constituents to get involved, especially this year.
So, what do you think the odds are this year, Noel, of a Parents' Bill of Rights passing the legislature? And is this a partisan issue? And that's what I want to know too. Is this a partisan issue where Republicans and Democrats have a distinct party line fight about a Parents' Bill of Rights?
Yeah, definitely not. I've heard from independents, Green Party. There's even an organization called WOLF, the Women's Operation Liberation Front. They are feminists, and they are very strong on protecting female rights, on protecting parents' rights. Democrats, of course, want to have a say in their kids' education, to be able to view materials. Right now in Georgia Code, it says that the curricula for schools has to be listed in a prominent location on the website, down to the name of the textbook, the edition number of the textbook. But I haven't found any school district that does that correctly yet. So we have laws on the books that aren't enforced, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, we've not looked at that into Rockdale, and if we do, I will guarantee you it's not correct.
I would
guarantee you it's not correct.
I would love to train gatekeepers for Rockdale County. I know I'm running for office, so I should probably be focusing on that. But I love to train people on how to get involved with their. I mean, these are state schools. That is what they are.
Well, I mean, but I think it's exciting, Noel, to have a candidate that's running for office that's actually willing to actually work with the community and educate them on things because education is a big part of any community. Some of the questions we're going to go into later on, even though they're like economic development and those kind of questions, it still comes back to education being a strong threshold into all of that. So I mean, I find it very interesting that but this is your stronghold, it's your passion, and it's one of the reasons you're running for office, because you see some things that are wrong with it and you want to correct them. So I mean, we can't go wrong with that when we have people with passion that are running for office, and we lack that a lot of times because people run for office for different reasons, and a lot of times they lack passion.
Right. And yeah, this year more than any year, I mean, every year we have to vet our candidates, but it's so important to vet our Republican candidates. Just because you have an R on your name does not mean you're have Republican values. Doesn't mean that you're conservative, of course. But I welcome any dialogue, any vetting of myself as a true constitutional conservative candidate.
Well, I'm going to go off topic a little bit and let you know, in Rockdale County this year, we just voted at our executive board meeting. We're going to do something a little bit different this year in the primary. We're going to do what we call Rockdale CPR. We're actually going to, it's going to be candidate primary rating. We're actually going to rate any Republican candidate that is on a ballot in Rockdale County. So we're not certain how many local candidates we're going to have, but we will have a lot of statewide candidates on our ballot. And those candidates, we're going to develop a questionnaire we're going to send to them. And if incumbents don't fill them out, we're going to look at their records and we're going to rate them by their records with the questions that we ask. And there's one special candidate, and I know you don't want to comment on this because you shouldn't right now. But there's one guy who is statewide. He's very influential statewide. He's not in our district, but we are going to rate Speaker Ralston. And we're going to be very interesting how that rating comes out, especially knowing that he's blocked a lot of legislation in the past. This year, I heard him the other day speak about, the constitutional carry. And now that's going to come out. And anybody who follows Georgia politics for the last decade has known the reason that that legislation has not come to a vote is because the speaker has personally blocked it from coming out of the House. I mean, even though he says this now, we're going to go back and look at a decade of him blocking conservative legislation. I'm not certain what kind of ranking he's going to get at the end of the day. But our statement, we're actually going to change our statement too, is the purpose of the Republican Party has been stated in the past to elect Republicans. We're going to change our statement. The purpose of the Republican Party is to elect the best Republican.
I like that.
And the only way to do that is to rank them in the primary so that Republican voters know who the best Republican is. Because if we don't let our Republican primary voters know we've got a real gem running in this primary, then we end up, which we will back our Republican primary winners in a general election, but we may not have the best Republican candidate. And that's why I suggest people get to know Noel Kahan, because I really look at Noel as being the best Republican that is going to be running in House 117. And I don't think as Republicans in 117, you guys in that district can afford not having a candidate as caliber as Noel and as tenacious. You need a Noel representing you. And we just found out this week that Special Kelly Rose is going to be running as a Democrat in that 117. And she ran a heck of a campaign against an incumbent senator 2 years ago. So I'll look for her to be a formidable general primary opponent. And that's why we need a formidable Republican opponent in 117, as Noel Kahan will be.
Right. I like your adjective, tenacious. That was always my word when I played sports. I'm glad you used it. That was a memory.
Yeah, I mean, and that's and that's the way I see it. I mean, and that's but that's what we need. Also, just like to say, guys, in the chat, if you guys have some questions, throw them out there. I've got some more things that we're going to talk to Noel about. But as always, we welcome your questions, and I will filter them in as we're going. So now let's go ahead, Noel.
Sorry. I'm glad you brought up constitutional carry. It's so important. It took me 6 months to get my permit, my concealed carry permit. That's not acceptable. They took way too long. And this was pre-COVID. That took that long. What if I needed my protection? It's a weapon, yes, but I like to call it protection because it protects me. It protects my loved ones. It took 6 months. What if I needed it and I wasn't in my car and I wasn't in my home? That's not acceptable. And I tell people, I don't really need a permit, an extra permit from the government. I mean, this is my permit right here. I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I should be able to carry protection with me.
The Second Amendment is your permit.
That's right.
The second permit, and I agree. And then Bill Campbell asked a question, and I'm going to sort of answer this question because this is sort of how I feel about this. It says, who are her opponents? I don't mind mentioning a general election opponent because we know who Kelly Rose is, and we defeated her in this area once, and we're going to defeat her again. But as far as Republican opponents, any of our Republican opponents who want to come on this show, they can reach out to me, and I'll let them come on the show. But I think Republican opponents, it's not Noel's job to promote or say who her opponent is. It's her opponent's job to actually promote themselves and get themselves name recognition. Noel is doing a fantastic job of that. I met, I think, one of her opponents at a meeting the other day, overheard a conversation, nice young man, point blank told somebody, well, I don't know really how I'm going to do. I don't have any money. So I don't know how effective I'm going to be. Mm-hmm. So, so I'm not going to say somebody's name here tonight because it's up to them to find a way for you to know their name, not for me and Noel to give them name recognition. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to do that. That's just
it would take away from the Constitution we were talking about.
Yeah. So I mean, it's their responsibility to get their name recognition.
Yeah, good question though. Williams doing vetting, and that's exactly what we want.
And Williams a tough guy. I mean, so Williams, our Marine Corps veteran here. He served in Vietnam.
We need tough guys. I'm so sick of the beta males. We need tough guys.
Yeah, Will's not a beta male, so that's
All right, Will.
So we've got some good guests here and stuff and everything, and they know me, and I'm candid with answers like that and such. So they expect those kind of answers from me
Great.
at times. So it's like like I said, if any of those guys reach out and they want to come on the show, I'll let them on the show. And Dan Burke said that candidate can get on the chat with us, and we've had that. What we've actually had when we've had guests on here, we've had their opponents actually get in the chat before.
All right, let's do it.
I mean, it's all free. If it's free speech, and I'm a free speech advocate.
If we can keep it, that's the famous saying. If we can keep it.
I'm going to ask you a free speech question next, right? So this is the deal. I look at free speech, and I actually have what I refer to as the 4 pillars of conservatism. Free speech is actually my top pillar, and then the Second Amendment, and there's religious freedom, and then I've thrown a 4th pillar in there, and it's voter rights. And what I consider voter rights and the left are 2 different things. But my gauge of any candidate's true conservatism are First Amendment, Second Amendment, religious liberties, and voter rights. So when I talk about First Amendment, and I look at how the First Amendment and our founding fathers looked at it, they never imagined a creature called the internet. That you would have private companies that would be able to establish themselves and control speech. Our founding fathers only envisioned the government having that kind of power to where they could actually control and squelch speech. But with the our advancements in technology and the internet and social media and these different social media giants, now we have Twitter, Facebook, all these, even Google, the searches and everything. And they like to, squelch what we can look up, talk about. And if you say certain things, you get, X'd out. So as a legislator, how do you think that the Georgia legislature can go about protecting First Amendment rights against these big tech companies when they say, well, they're private industry and you can't do anything about it? I actually have a different take on it. I think they're in violation of the Constitution because they are suppressing speech. So can I get your take on what you would do as a legislator?
Yeah, we definitely need a committee formed for this issue and some other issues. We need experts to come in. We need good constitutional attorneys to come in and give good advice on this issue. But you're right, they are violating the Constitution and getting paid for it by one side. Big tech is a giant bully, and they're deplatforming. They're not only chilling free speech, and now that I'm thinking about it, we are self-censoring ourselves. And that hurts me the most, especially when I see children saying, oh, we can't say this. Oh, we can't talk about that. Oh, it hurts my heart, because that is not what the founding fathers didn't create this country, especially for young children to self-censor. That hurts. But yes, it can be done. State legislators have a lot of power, the most power. And that's where you can get things done if you have enough courage to tackle the issue. And I'm not going to shy away from tough issues.
Right. And Justin Kinney, Justin's a friend of the show. He's an attorney, so it didn't surprise me that Justin jumped in there. And that's part of the debate, Justin, is because we realize that it's controversial because private industry has certain rights because of what it is. But I'm not certain if we don't need a constitutional amendment recognizing that we now have the private sector that is actually, in my opinion, they are violating the Constitution by restricting free speech because, and you said create another platform, but we've seen that when individuals try to create these platforms cancel those platforms because they have that power, they have the ability, and I actually think we may end up having to use as monopolies is what they have, and then also I think that we need to relook, and that's the great thing about the Constitution. We talk about it. If we see something, an injustice occurring or things going, this thing is an amendable thing that we can do as our times change.
That's
Uh,
right.
uh, but that it that as we find out that just when large corporations back at the turn of the 19th century and the monopoly thing came in with Roosevelt and we had to put an end to that power. I think we're seeing the same thing with big tech and their ability to squelch the voice of one side. So and you can see we got into this and the chat got lively. So they, so that happens. But Noel, I mean, and as a legislator, this will be something that you have to deal with. It's going to be a controversial issue.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully the Georgia legislature passes some legislation that gets challenged and goes to the Supreme Court and can create a buzz that we need a change in the way that a constitutional, which it's hard to do, and it's hard to do for a purpose.
Right.
It's hard to do for a purpose.
Right.
But you do acknowledge it's a very difficult issue, and it's something as a legislator, it's going to be something that's going to be difficult task for you to look at.
Yep. Happy to hash it out and have the best results that we can for our country and her citizens.
So you've decided to do this and get into it, and anybody that decides to do this, they've got motivation and role models. Who was your role model, Noel, that's influenced you to be the person that you are and to want to do this?
Sure. Well, most people wouldn't think that, based on her stature of a 4 foot nothing, she's my grandma. Ruth Mildred is her name. A lot of people call her Millie. She's 98 years old, 98 years young. And she instilled in all of her grandchildren just a love, a patriotic love for the country. Is she perfect? Well, my grandmother and the country. No, of course not. We've had horrific history in some areas, but we have been able to, like you said, amend our Constitution and get better and improve. And we are the greatest country on earth. And she instilled just a patriotic love for the country. And she built bombs in a munitions factory in Detroit. She had a victory garden. She had the Constitutions, for all of us. She had a bust of Abraham Lincoln. And every Christmas, she'd put a little Christmas hat, a little Santa hat on him. Those are the funny things that you remember. But she and my grandpa were just amazing role models that you can do anything in this country. You can achieve anything in this country, but you've got to put, the hard work into it. She's, like I said, from Detroit, and Midwestern values, faith, family, hard work, giving back. That's what our country was built on. And there's nobody like her. And she's about, I don't know, a football field away from me right now, right up the road. So it's great to have her here for the winter and away from that cold. But she's really amazing.
That's great to know. I mean, and I have 4 daughters, and I talk about it. I've talked about this on the show, and I'll actually talk about it at political events and at the Republican meetings and such and everything. Is I am a true advocate for women in politics and women actually being able to exercise their voice. Because my mother would always talk about my mother grew up and was born in the 20s, and grew up during the Depression, and during a time where women weren't supposed to have a voice. It was just like your grandmother.
Right.
And my mom could be a little bit mouthy sometimes, and I appreciate that, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, I want a world where my daughters and their daughters can grow up and they can actually be a force and they can help lead this country forward, because it takes all of us. It takes a male perspective and a female perspective to be able to do that. So I mentioned something just now. I mentioned a male and a female perspective. So you had mentioned something to me earlier, which I felt was a very interesting statement when we were talking about males and females in the school and bathrooms. So why don't you explain to the citizens, to the audience, how you think we should handle the bathroom issues in schools? I like your take on it. So let the audience hear this.
Sure. Well, I never thought. Who of us ever thought that it would be something that we would have to discuss? Having opposite sex kids in opposite sex bathrooms, right? This is never something that we thought we'd ever have to see. But it hit home here in Henry County about 2 years ago, during COVID, I believe. I had some friends tell me, my daughter's coming home. She's holding her bladder all day. And I said, well, that's not healthy. Gracious. She said, yeah, she says there's a boy using their bathroom in Henry County schools. And I said, well, you definitely need to find out, if that's true. And she was kind of getting the runaround from school officials. So we had to do an open records request, and we found out that, yes, Henry County Schools was allowing opposite sex kids into opposite sex bathrooms. And it wasn't a policy, it was a de facto policy. And I've been dealing with this issue a lot with our civil rights law firm. People don't know, but there's a current case of a 5-year-old in a Georgia school who was assaulted by a gender fluid person, a child, in her bathroom at school. So people think, the Loudon, Virginia case was the first one, but it wasn't. It's spreading across the state, where they're keeping it secret from the parents. So there's no school board vote, and the parents aren't notified, and then that's not okay. With the taxpayers and the stakeholders in the district where that's happening. So we wrote a resolution at the state level, county level, district level, state level. I highly recommend resolutions. They're great for educating the grassroots. So we coined a phrase, biological privacy rights. I think opposite sex children, they should have their own bathrooms. It's healthy for them. There's no reason why we should have to share opposite sex bathrooms. And if someone does have confusion, because that's happening more and more lately, they should have an accommodation for a single bathroom. That should be available to them, whether it's a faculty room or we're building new schools, build some single bathrooms. It seems, common sense to me, but if I had to, wave a wand and have legislation right now, we should have biological privacy rights in Georgia. We can do that here if we have the strength of will to do it.
Yeah, and I like that where you said biological privacy rights, and I think that's the distinct thing that we need to recognize is biological privacy rights. So let's talk a little bit about biology and females, and I want to talk about female sports. As a father, my girls played sports, and I heard Michael Phelps say something the other day, and it was very true. Michael Phelps said that he thinks we need to be sensitive to everyone's what people believe, but in sports, it also has to be fair.
Right.
And Bruce Jenner or Caitlyn Jenner had made the comment that males who have transitioned, it is not fair when they participate in female sports. So we've got, in my opinion, two of the greatest athletes who have ever participated in the Olympics, Bruce Jenner and Michael Phelps.
Yeah.
And, and they look at, we need to recognize Michael Phelps. We need to recognize and be sensitive, but we also need to realize it needs to be fair. In Georgia, what do we need to do, Noelle, to protect female sports in Georgia?
Well, we had a bill introduced last year. I'm not sure if that was the first time And I remember it because it's the same numbers as my obscenity bill, 266, Save Girls Sports. It's a problem. We see it in the news. More and more athletes, biological males, are competing against biological females, and like you said, that is just not fair. They have more bone mass, muscle mass. It's, I mean, everybody knows they are just stronger than girls, and faster. They're losing college scholarships. They're losing placings. It's and like I say, we in Georgia, we can do something about this. I know, we can. We just have to stand. I keep saying we must stand now, and it is an election year, and we can get things more things done in an election year than an off year.
Oh, especially, I think, in an election year where we have legislators, Republican legislators specifically, are going to have to be more conservative than they're used to be.
Right.
And I mean, and that's where, I think that we need to be. Republican legislators, this is what I think we have going on in Georgia as far as these Republican legislators. I think we have a group of Republican legislators who get elected who are really moderates, but their base is conservative. So they struggle each legislative session to drive to do just enough to appease their base, but stay true to themselves. And I think a lot of this is because we've had consultants like Mark Roundtree who have urged people who are center leaning or even Democrats to run as Republicans. And that's why I doubt truly the Republican numbers that we tout in the Senate and the House, because when we look at ideology and we do these questionnaires that we're going to do for the Rockdale CPR, if these guys are truly honest about it, I we're in dire straits in Georgia, and that's why I think a ranking system is really needed in the primary so that we can actually elect the best Republican, not just a Republican, but the best Republican. And I think it really hurts constituents when they elect individuals who they believe are representing who they are, which in Republican situations it's constitutional conservatives, and then these individuals go and they don't end up being constitutional conservatives, and it's disheartening. And then they get the power of the incumbency, and that's a good thing, that you're not running against an incumbent, Noelle. So you don't have a lot of the pressures a lot of times that some candidates have not running. You're a brand new seat, everybody's brand new.
Right.
So I think that's great for you, being a first-time candidate, actually being able to run in a new created seat.
Right, and especially having the experience that I have for years at the Capitol, trying to pass child protecting legislation. You can look up any of my testimony at the Capitol. You'll see that I'm a true conservative. I've written, I believe, 5 statewide resolutions that have made it all the way to the state GOP convention. Conservative child protecting legislation. Resolutions. And like you said, we have to vet our candidates. I'd love to see your numbering system for sure. And maybe Henry County or other counties could take notes.
Right now, DeKalb County and Newton County both have said they want to actually implement the system. We're in the process of developing the system right now among our Republican executive board here in Rockdale. Mm-hmm. And as soon as we develop it, I will be more than willing to share it with the Henry County executive board. Mm-hmm.
And I find that Republicans, especially, we're so trusting. We're so hopeful of our candidates. We hear some things that we want to hear, and we trust them. We believe them. And then when they let us down, they let us down hard. Especially if we find out that they weren't truthful to begin with. It can jade people.
It's disheartening. I mean, and here, and especially, these last few years where conservatism has been under attack by the left wing and the media. I mean, and even if the media and even if people who have a left perspective would be honest with themselves, they would see that conservatives have been under extreme attack, that their voices have been attacked, that even these social media giants, these big tech individuals, have unfairly attacked conservative viewpoints.
Right.
And I don't just think, and we can talk about the corona thing, is a lot of things that they told us weren't accurate, weren't true. We're finding out through document leaks that were actually accurate and were actually true about therapies and origins of the virus and these things, that these things were known prior to, and then they blamed conservatives for conspiracies and such and this and that. And these were things that were actually grounded in truth, that, if you say them on social media, you get struck down and they can block your broadcast and
That's
such.
right.
I mean,
Yep.
and that's not acceptable. And somebody
Right.
can't, get on here and say, well, that's, they have the right because it's a private. No, just because it's a private industry doesn't mean that they should have the right to restrict speech. And if they do, then there's something wrong. We need to amend the Constitution.
Because then
We need to
it
amend the
follows,
Constitution.
like I said, we find ourselves self-censoring because we're used to being on social media, and then we're trying to be careful there. Well, then we find ourselves being careful everywhere. And like I said, with the kids, it's got to stop.
Well, and that's the thing about it. I attempt to do that on this platform, is to self-censor. I think anybody who's ever heard me speak in public, there is no filter. And and I encourage that to all individuals running for office. When we're out in public and we're running for office, or we're talking about these important things, that we need to let people know the facts and the truth. And that's why I'm grateful to see candidates like you, Noel, especially coming on here tonight. You did your research and you exposed that Rockdale County has material that's not fit for grade school students that's in their libraries.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
you exposed it. Tonight, there are several publications. You actually said this is in this school right now.
Yeah. And that's what I do. I like to train stakeholders on how to look this up themselves. I just looked for 3 books, and you guys pay for those 3 books. And it was, it's frustrating. It's not surprising, but it is frustrating. And I have a friend that just moved to Rockdale County. She's part of Protect Student Health Georgia, and she can help train the taxpayers to find out what's in there first, right? So being a paralegal, I always bring the receipts. I'm not going to say something. I try not to say something or show something unless I have the proof. And if I have to pay for an open records request to get that proof, then I'll do it. Like I told you, my highest open records request ever was $167,912.15. I did not pay that. But that is open records is our tool for transparency for our government, who works for us, if we can remember that. But I'm happy to help Rockdale citizens find out what's in there and what steps you can take to get it out, because some schools will take it out. I had a grandma in South Georgia get out 487 adult books from an elementary school.
If somebody in Rockdale County would like to reach out to Noel, reach out to me, guys. I've got Noel's private contact information. And if this is about books and stuff in education, I can make sure that you actually are in contact with Noel, and because this is a passion of hers, and I can make sure that you guys are
I like what Megan just said. It's hard to read I don't know how you guys are able to multitask like this, but I like what Megan just said. Knowledge is power.
I'm going to reconcile this for Justin. Justin, we're advocating the removal of pornography.
Right.
And there's a big difference between pornography and 6-year-olds being exposed to pornography. Come on, Justin.
Obscene material.
This is ridiculous, Justin. Come on.
in the
I'm gonna
so
get a little irritated with Justin.
let me just
He's
give
living
you an example if you can see that. Right? So what's a nice girl like you? Uh, she can enjoy, and you can see the picture. She's this woman is made to look like a child, and that's accessible to our kids. The youngest is 11 years up, and 11 years old and up, they can have access to that straight to their Chromebook, straight to their phone. So that's not acceptable to me, and we're gonna hash that out. We're gonna do the best we can, and I'm not gonna shy away from that fight.
And we shouldn't shy away from that fight because our young people should not be exposed to pornography in the grade school level, middle
Yep.
school. They shouldn't be exposed
It's
to that
illegal
at
for
any time in school.
it's
That
illegal
should
for
not,
you and I.
our tax dollars should not pay for pornographic materials for
Yep.
our public libraries for in our school systems.
Yep. Yep. Moving on.
So that's great. So one more question we'll do. We may run over a minute, right? So let's talk a little bit about jobs in Henry County and what do you think as far as for economic development? What do we need to do for your region? What's important for your region to develop jobs in Henry County in 117?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have many jobs available. So many places are hiring in Henry County. We're adding distribution centers. Feels like weekly. So, we need to make sure our education system is training our kids to be able to take jobs like these. Not every child is going to be going to a 4-year school to get a degree. We just recently built the house I'm sitting in, and the tradesmen and women that we had building this house were excellent, so good from the area. They can just do wonders here, whether it's granite, countertops or the bricklayers. So there are so many job opportunities in Henry County, and having the type of training for the kids to be as diverse as they want to be, that's helpful. I also, being a healthy relationship teacher, I always try to have kids take a personality test. Find out what your strengths are, find out what you're good at, what you like to do, because if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. I can tell Larry you love what you do because you never feel like you're working. Same.
No, I do love what I do. I mean, I actually, and I do several things that I love, right? So, I mean, I
Right.
love my construction trade, and I actually love politics and helping great candidates and people that I believe in. So it's not work to me. It's a passion.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if you're passionate about what you do, you enjoy doing it. So I
Yep.
agree.
Yeah, and we have great small businesses. We're a family of a small business also. Henry County has just got great small businesses. We lost quite a few of them, unfortunately. Some of them are clawing their way back. So investing in trying to go to your small business owners as much as possible to get something fixed, to go out to dinner, to like for building the house. I was trying to find as many small business people as I could. That's gonna really help propel Henry County forward.
That's good. I mean, I think that that's what we need. We need to propel our counties forward and our economic development forward. And education is a big part of all of it.
Right.
It's making our youth prepared to do what they need to do in the future,
That's right.
and that's what we're all about. Noel, why don't you? I'm going to say bye to the folks, and you can hang on. Don't go away. You and I'll talk a little bit after the show. So
Thank you.
bye to everybody and Noel. It's been great to have everybody on here tonight. Justin, second part of your answer is, yeah, they're private industry, but also I mentioned earlier in this that I believe that founding fathers didn't envision such power of our people's voices being squelched and their speech being squelched. I think there needs to be a constitutional amendment. Short of a constitutional amendment, I think that these private companies need to be regulated as utilities in the short term until we can get this ridiculous handled by the Constitution. That's my point of it. So I just like you guys, thank everybody for joining us tonight. Next week, guys, we're going to have a really special show. We're going to have one of our crossover events, sort of. We're going to have, Alex is going to be on, and I think we're going to bring back out This Week in Rockdale with This Week from Rockdale, and we may have another local show on, and we're going to talk about Rockdale County government. We're going to talk about lack of trust within the government, and we may have some special ways to show you that even those who work within the government don't trust the government, or those that are in office right now, they doubt their sincerity, or they doubt not their sincerity, but their ability to lead because of their lack of understanding. So next week could be a very interesting show here. I encourage each and every one of you to tell your friends, tune in. We'll be doing some plugging of this crossover event that we're going to have, and it'll be a very exciting show. And I think it's going to be something that we guys, Rockdale County citizens, need to see, because we need to make some changes at the ballot box this coming year. And I think this show will expose some of the reasons why. So, guys, I thank each and every one of you for being a guest tonight. And Justin, even and I love you, buddy, and anything about way. That's why we can have debates about things we don't agree on, even though that's America, man. Love you. Talk to you later.